Isn't it funny how the Ashkenazi Jews, you heard me right, Ashkenazi Jews, who were actually Eastern Europeans, claiming that the Semites are anti-Semitic. You hear that word, Ashkenazi. We are on the wrong side of history.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump. On November 5th, 2024, Donald Trump shocked the nation by securing the presidency to become the 47th President of the United States. This was off the back of polling institutions showing Kamala Harris up across the board. The most statistically accurate pollster in U.S. history, the Des Moines Register's Ann Selzer poll, had Kamala Harris up 47 to 44% in a deeply red Iowa. Combined with the antiquated logic that Donald Trump's platform was simply too extreme and something Americans would see as flamboyant promises from a man who, according to history, has no intention to deliver. Some examples of his 2024 platform are the following: seal the American border, end inflation, and make necessities affordable. And on number 11 of his Agenda 47 push, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. I want to focus on this in particular. This campaign promise sounds vague, but benign, favorable even. But there's something going on behind the scenes that is seldom discussed, a hidden architecture and plan that can only be visualized by murmurings of the past. In the spring of 2023, Donald Trump released a video detailing campaign plans to increase living standards in the United States.
Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard.
With it, he promised baby bonuses to increase birth rates, a beautification campaign to revitalize existing cities. Yet, biggest of all, was a plan for brand new cities.
The contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development.
A technological utopia designed for the 21st century. Trump called them freedom cities, fully privately owned cities, controlled exclusively by the ones purchasing them, auctioned off from public lands in the American West. Yet, this idea isn't exactly new. It's the culmination of decades-long economic policies and deregulation that elevated the rich into the most powerful aristocracy in U.S. history, one where monetary accumulation wasn't enough. And through the decades, there is one person who has been at the forefront of this push. His name is Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is a billionaire and former CEO of PayPal, co-founder of Palantir, and original mega investor into Facebook. He is now the head of, or involved in, at least 5 venture capital firms. While far from the richest in the world, he is among the most powerful. What separates Thiel is that he is among the largest, most influential donors to the Republican Party. He was the main voice, urging Vance to run for Senate, and he broke campaign finance records for J.D. Vance's Ohio Senate campaign with a donation of $15 million during his primary. This was the largest single publicly disclosed political donation in American history. But what's most important to this story is Thiel's political views, and they are primarily informed by this guy. This man is named Curtis Yarvin.
I was like, built for Aussie gardens. Discover the difference.
Originally an online blogger who who has now become the core brainchild of the modern American right.
I mean, I think that there are two different ideas here, right? So one is like, there's this guy Curtis Yarvin who's written about some of these things.
Yarvin believes that America should be a techno-monarchy, a system exclusively ruled by tech oligarchs, where governance would happen at the corporate executive level, outside general democratic commons and representation. The center of his belief system is that democracy was a mistake. He believes slavery was preferable to civil rights and holds the racist myth that white individuals possess higher IQs than others. And he was present at the inaugural gala for Donald Trump. He holds praise from people like J.D. Vance and Trump's former cabinet members Steve Bannon and Michael Anton. Yarvin is an important link, as Thiel is a bit more subtle and esoteric around the intricacies of his political beliefs. But underneath the often confused sophistry, he is crystal clear on a few things. His famous quote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible," along with his writing for the Cato Institute. Since 1920, the vast increase in welfare beneficiaries and the extension of the franchise to women, two constituencies that are notoriously tough for libertarians, have rendered the notion of capitalist democracy into an oxymoron. This is clear enough to inform the framework he wishes to impose, and plans are underway to turn that framework into a living, breathing system. In March of 2025, Donald Trump repeatedly headlined news cycles for his ambition to purchase or annex Greenland, with the reasoning being national security. But this couldn't be farther from the truth. The real reason starts with a quiet, relatively unknown company. Their name is Praxis, a company whose sole purpose is to create fully private cities. And warning, things are about to get really weird. Praxis was founded by two, for all intents and purposes, random guys. Dryden Brown, a college dropout from a wealthy family, and Charlie Kalinin, a former Boston College wide receiver turned analyst for a hedge fund who joined Brown after getting fired from said hedge fund. They want to create the first, quote, internet native nation, a technological, private, sovereign, utopian society for the wealthy. According to the latest information, they have secured around $524 million from investors. And to no surprise, one of their largest investors is Peter Thiel, primarily through Pronomos Capital, Thiel's venture capitalist firm that invests in private cities, such as the famous Prospera city in Honduras, and a slew of other private city initiatives inside Africa. But most importantly, they invested heavily in Praxis, which might be one of the most important of Thiel's city investments. On the front page of Praxis's website, it reads, "Reunite the West." In their About section, they state, Praxis is the world's first digital nation, a home for the brave, who strive for virtue and wisdom. Our purpose is to restore Western civilization and pursue our ultimate destiny of a life among the stars. And this only gets progressively weirder. Praxis has a declaration of assent, where they express the desire to form a networked empire, a collection of city-states throughout Earth, an empire on vague principles of the cultivation of nobility, beauty, and excellence in all endeavors, the establishment of governance that nourishes the human spirit in its ascent, and the preservation and transmission of our highest values through generations. This all sounds like a fantasy for alienated, reactionary businessmen who fail upward, financed by a power-hungry billionaire who is known for the same esotericism. But Praxis is a very real project with powerful ties and a very real plan to create its own private nation-state. Thiel isn't the lone investor. Sam Bankman-Fried's Alameda Research, OpenAI's Sam Altman's Apollo Research, and the Winklevoss twins' venture capitalist firm have all poured millions into this project, and they intend to make their money back. They are also vying for a system that would further consolidate their own power. But if Praxis is to build a city, where would it be? There's quite a few places they've suggested, but as you might have guessed, as of 2025, a leading candidate is Greenland. Around the time J.D. Vance was visiting Greenland, Brown tweeted the following: "I went to Greenland to try to buy it," sparking immediate connections. It starts to become obvious the case for annexing Greenland has little to do with national security, but the financial and political interest of the GOP's donors, specifically Thiel and Sam Altman. What's more is after 2028, Trump's existing prior felony convictions and pending charges will be back into play, and it's almost a guarantee that if he loses power, him and many of his administration will go to prison. A private city he founded, with no ties to Western alliances, is a buffer if that was to happen. Greenland also serves as one of the cheaper geographical locations for Praxis to build a city, which leads us to the question: what would a Praxis city look like? It's easy to visualize the dismal consequence from wealthy billionaires extracting value from all life on Earth. Right now, one of the quietest examples is factory farming and the subjugation of animals around the globe. But today, I hope to instill a bit of genuine hope. I'm working with a nonprofit organization called FarmKind, a group working to help charities transform the reality for animals living in farms throughout the world, to make farming much more kind, transparent, and humane. Something that doesn't just benefit the incredibly intelligent animals we live amongst, but ourselves, via food safety, hygiene, and the environment. FarmKind is completely grant funded, meaning every single cent of your donation given to them will be sent to charities of your choice. They aren't a middleman. They collect nothing. They are a completely independent organization whose sole purpose is to support the hundreds of charities doing work on the ground to make life better for everyone. FarmKind is actually matching 50% of every donation you throw their way. With the link below of farmkind.giving/epochphilosophy, you can help make the world a more safe, environmentally friendly, and humane place just by pledging a few dollars a month. Truth is, it isn't exactly clear what a Praxis city will look like. We do see the various AI-generated images on their X account and renditions of a utopian landscape on their website. Praxis relies on intentionally vague messaging and neo-fascist aesthetics. Frankly, pretty hilarious tweets about San Francisco being once a great civilization. Imagine living in a city and vibing with everyone there. I see a holy war spreading across the universe like an unquenchable fire, and rumblings about how, quote, digital nations will become the blockchain of fiat money. With this, we know what a Tumblr account of a far-right rich kid would look like, but we're only left with vague glimmerings on what these digital nations would look like. Despite this, we do have a good idea how it would function. That being classic deregulatory oligarchy, one propped up by what Praxis calls acceleration zones, a new type of special economic zone that accelerates technological progress in service of national priorities by attracting technologists and developing an institutional and regulatory structure that unlocks technological development. They want to push AI, crypto, energy, and biotech through, quote, increasing velocity of experiments via streamlined regulation. Certainly increasing the velocity of experiments in biotechnology with the loosening of regulation will be a good thing. No problems there. Yet, it's important to get at the ideological heart of this project. And if the symbolism wasn't enough.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
we have this. Mother Jones reported that employees of Praxis were subjected to welcome packets containing book recommendations from the likes of Julius Evola, founding ideologue of fascism, the racist pseudoscience book, The Bell Curve, which proposes that certain minority groups possess lower IQs, and a more recent neo-fascist book called The Bronze Age Mindset. With this, employees have also stated many within Praxis's leadership are obsessed with Nazi occultism. Yes, you heard that right. Brown is also an ardent fan of the very same Curtis Yarvin. Matter of fact, Brown's office posts pictures of Yarvin and himself. Yarvin has also been present at numerous events for Praxis, and even stayed at Brown's residence for extended periods. What's more is this very residence was the centerpiece in a court case where a New York City property management company sued Brown for refusing to pay rent for said residence. The first thought for many is Praxis is doomed to fall apart, fail by complete incompetence and stupidity. It's true, these are incredibly ignorant, arrogant business bros obsessed with new, postmodern, traditionalist trends and hyper-commodified aesthetics. That's all technically correct. Yet, we're missing the point here. This is an organization with the extreme institutional backing not only from billionaires, venture capitalist firms, but by the most powerful government on the planet, the United States of America. We should never assume competence or merit as a driver for financial success, particularly in an economy where market evaluation has zero ties to revenue, when corporations themselves can replace common people as its core consumers. The only thing here that matters is institutional power, and Praxis has more than it needs. Yet, we've left out an important element here that should be discussed. Private cities are not only being proposed, but being constructed everywhere. As stated earlier, Thiel's Promanos is funding cities all throughout Africa, South Asia, and they were a lead funder in the famous Bitcoin haven Prospera in Honduras. All of these projects serve as tangible power grabs by people who have everything. When you have billions and live quietly, peacefully, what else is there? It's power. People like Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Mark Zuckerberg want for nothing. The only thing they have left to gain is absolute, complete power. Control over you, your family, the earth itself. That is the very point of private cities, and why billionaires are lobbying the United States for its creation. We know corporations control every arm of the state with billions in lobbying dollars, but controlling the most powerful government in the world is not enough. Now, they want their own state. There's historical precedence for Praxis. Private cities have functionally existed all throughout history. Places like Pullman, Illinois, Lowell, Massachusetts, and Matewood, West Virginia. Entire towns owned and controlled by single companies, historically coined as company towns, usually constructed to extract a specific raw resource. Mining towns, plantation towns, lumber towns, and these places often brutally suppressed labor organization, posted extremely harsh working conditions, and effectively created their own contained city-states, where its citizens and workers had little say in their day-to-day life. Their housing, the food they ate, was not a matter of their own free will. In the 21st century, it's impossible to imagine a private city that doesn't look like this, but within the veneer of an Amazon fulfillment center. And that's putting its social relations politely. The actual reality would likely be much worse, akin to outright slavery for its working population, synonymous to what we saw in places like Qatar, where some accounts predict thousands of migrant slaves perished while building a stadium for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. It's difficult to visualize the danger Praxis poses for all of humanity. Like the worst parts of complete, unregulated capitalism, it flattens democracy, strips the best, compassionate, creative parts of ourselves. Yet, the most important takeaway here should be that so long as capitalism exists, the threat to impose a more barbaric system of private city states will always be a lingering possibility, and it's up to working class people everywhere to ensure that never happens. Thank you for watching and making it to the end. As always, I want to give a small request for everyone here. If you enjoy these videos, consider pledging just a few dollars a month on Patreon.
He kept that fairly family friendly, didn't he? Oh, it gets much worse than that. Oh, I have no idea. It gets Auschwitz worse. You see, it's one thing to show that aspect of it, but the journey to get there. A Western alignment, what does that mean? It's all of the West is going that way, okay? That's us as well. In all the world under Western rule. And they want to annex more land. They want Iran. They're basically trying to take over the world. Now, do you realise how many people have to die to make that happen? You see, you have to be part of that system, or you're not part of anything. What if you just, like me, just want your happy, simple life? You know, my nothing that I talk about, it's nothing. I haven't got nothing. I got nothing. I don't want anything that they've got. I'm not buying, can't afford it, wouldn't buy it if I could. They have nothing to offer me that I could possibly want. Nothing. Especially not wealth. Been there, done that. Guess I have to live in a district. What's that? I pray to God, don't I? I pray to God to find a way to make it happen where it's tolerable and I don't lose the family. That's where we're at. That's what worries me. That's what keeps me awake at night. Because I'm not taking no chips in my hand. I'm not going to do any of the digital shit. Not interested, thank you. Thank you very much. No, thank you. We create a virtually zero carbon footprint, so I don't know what your problem is there. Most of us are simple people. We're not contributing any problems. We're having problems imposed on us. They were laughing last time I spoke to Mum, this is a long time ago, but he's like, you know, well, this is yours one day. I don't fucking want it. What would I want that for? Nothing there is any use to me. I want your fucking house. I want none of your shit. I'll be able to keep it anyway. Nobody gets to keep any of that shit. Yeah, fucking stupid a statement. I'd love Dad's farm. Well, what would be the point? You don't get to keep that. No one gets to keep anything. This is my whole point. Nobody gets to keep anything. No property. No private property ownership. You won't be owning a car. Well, you clowns just got your head stuck in the sand. The world's moving that far. Times don't change. And people with their heads stuck in the past that think that things aren't going to change on them, it's proof of that. Times don't change. Policy changes, legislature changes, people in control change. They just get worse and worse and worse. They want more and more control. That's what changes. Still only 24 hours in a day. There's still only so many full moons in a season. And we can't even get that right. We've got to fuck around with the calendar. Now the seasons are all over the place. That's why the seasons are everywhere. And mess with the calendar. We used to go by full moons. There used to be roughly 13 months a year, not 12. And there wasn't as many days in a month. Because it runs by full moons, not by... Have you ever asked yourself why they have different amounts of days in a month? Well, it makes no sense, does it? Actually, it actually makes no sense. Not unless you want to fuck around with the calendar. You see, the Freemason idea is that they destroy everything to start again and rebuild again. They're builders, they reckon, and they can rebuild it in man's image, not God's. Ask me how that went for him in Babylon. Sodom and Gomorrah. How'd it go for those people? It didn't do too well, did it? Not a person left alive. By all accounts.